Okay, let's get started with solving GMAT data sufficiency questions that are found in the official guide to the GMAT 12th edition. That's the red book. And the data sufficiency questions begin on page 273. Question number 1. What is the value of the absolute value of x? Let's evaluate the statements. Statement 1 tells us that x is equal to negative the absolute value of x. Well, what this statement tells us by itself is simply that x is a negative value, or 0. X is less than or equal to 0. Basically, you can plug in x equals negative 3, and it's true, or you could plug in x equals negative 10, and it's true, but you cannot plug in a positive number for x. So this statement by itself is going to be insufficient. And the correct answer is going to be B, C, or E. Statement 2 tells us that x squared is equal to 4. If x squared is equal to 4, since this is an even exponent, x itself must be equal to either positive or negative 2. But since the question is asking what is the value of the absolute value of x, in either case the absolute value is going to be positive 2. So statement 2 is going to be sufficient, and the correct answer choice is going to be B. Moving on. Question number 3. What percent of a group of people are women with red hair? So we have a group of people, presumably we have men and women, and some of them have red hair. So let's evaluate the statements. Statement 1. Of the women in the group, 5% have red hair. So of women, we know that 0.05 times the number of women are going to have red hair. However, we don't know what percentage of the entire group are women, and so we can't compare that quantity to the entire group. And so statement 1 is going to be insufficient, and we can narrow down the answer to B, C, or E. Statement 2 tells us that of the men in the group, 10% have red hair. So of the men in the group, 0.1 times the number of men in the group have red hair. Well, again, we don't know the total number of people in the group or the ratio of men to women. So that statement by itself is going to be insufficient. And taking all of the information together, we're down to answer choices C and E now. Taking everything together, we still don't know the total number in the group, and we still don't know the ratio of men to women. So the statements together are going to be insufficient, and the correct answer choice is E. Question number 3. In a certain class, one student is to be selected at random to read. What is the probability that a boy will read? Well, the probability of any event is the number of ways that event can happen over the total number of possible outcomes. So in this case, the probability that a boy will be selected to read is going to be the number of boys divided by the total number of students that are in the class. So we can either get individual values for those two quantities, or we can get a value for this entire ratio itself. Either of those would be sufficient. Statement 1. 2/3 of the students in the class are boys. Well, if 2/3 of the students are boys, then the probability that a boy will be selected is simply going to be 2/3. So statement 1 is going to be sufficient, and we're down to answer choice A or D. Statement number 2, 10 of the students in the class are girls. So we have 10 girls in the class, but we don't know the number of boys, and we don't know the total number of students in the class. So statement 2 is going to be insufficient, and that leaves us with answer choice A. Okay, question number 4. In college X, the number of students enrolled in both a chemistry course and a biology course is how much less than the number of students enrolled in neither. So this is an overlapping sets problem in which you have two groups, group 1 and group 2, and then you'll also have people that are in both groups and people that are in neither group. And oftentimes they'll give you a total number of people that are in both groups, although they haven't yet in this case. So let's evaluate the statements. Statement 1, in College X there are 60 students enrolled in a chemistry course. So that statement tells us very little by itself. It simply tells you the overall number of people enrolled in a chemistry course. So that's going to be insufficient. And the answer will be B, C, or E. Statement 2 tells us that in College X there are 85 students enrolled in a biology course. Clearly by itself, that statement is going to be insufficient as well. And we're going to be down to answer choices C and E. And basically, when we take all of the information together, we're not going to have enough information to answer the question how many, the number of students enrolled in both chemistry and biology is how much less than the number of students enrolled in neither. It's going to be answer choice E. We do not have enough sufficient information to answer the question. When doing an overlapping sets problem, I often recommend the use of a table, which would look something like this. You have students in chemistry, you have students not in chemistry, and then you have the total. And then you have students in biology, students not in biology, and then you have the total. And you can draw a table something like this. And usually on these data sufficiency problems, they'll give you information that allows you to fill in the various boxes in the table. But in this case, all that they've given to us is that there's 60 students in chemistry, so the chemistry row would be 60, and there's 85 students in biology. The biology row would be 85, but you really can't get any more of the information that's in this table. And typically that's not the case on these overlapping sets problems. They usually give you much more information. But let's continue on. Question number 5. A certain expressway has exits J, K, L, and M in that order. What is the road distance from exit K to exit L? So we have an expressway that has exits J, K, L, and M in this order. So if you think of the expressway like this, and you have the 4 points J, K, L, and M. So statement 1 tells us that the road distance from exit J to exit L is 21 kilometers. So this distance between here and here is going to be 21 kilometers. And what they're asking us for is this distance right here, the distance between K and L. So statement 1 by itself clearly is going to be insufficient. And we're down to answer choices B, C, and E. Statement 2 tells us the road distance from exit K to exit M is 26 kilometers. And remember, we have to evaluate these statements independently. So I have to draw a new diagram, and we have J, K, L, and M. And the distance between K and M is going to be 26 kilometers. So this value right here is going to be 26 kilometers. And clearly that's going to be insufficient to answer the question that's asked, which again is the distance from K to L. So now we're down to answer choices C or E, and we have to evaluate statements 1 and 2 together. In this case, although it's a little hard to see, statements 1 and 2 together are going to be insufficient because you don't know where K is located within the distance between J and L. It's somewhere in there, but basically K could be located very close to L, and of course this distance would have to be 26, and this distance would be 21, or K could be located very close to J and very far from L. As long as you satisfy the conditions that are given in the two statements. So basically statements 1 and 2 together are going to be insufficient, and the correct answer choice will be E.